Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the latest episode of Supernatural. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Last recording of the night. Sorry. Anyway, in this episode, basically Sam and Dean find out about the whole situation about. Well, obviously they're still in the dark, but they find out a little bit more about the Men of Letters because sadly we find out Eileen ends up, well, I mean, we see it, but, Eileen ends up being killed by a hellhound. I was like, why is a hellhound out there? It's like, oh, is this just her case that she's working on? It's like, oh, and then lo and behold, we see that Ketch is behind it. It ripped her apartment, and it finally hits you. It's like after all these years, and I've never actively thought about it, but it's like this show. It's like I've never realized how actively this show kills off characters. It's like this is like I've never really watched Game of Thrones, but I think this is probably the closest thing you'll get to Game of Thrones, where it's like it starts killing characters off, like characters you might have forgotten existed, and it's like they come back just to die. Eileen, especially because it's like, oh yeah, because it's like, oh, we're creating kind of a thing between her and Sam. Oh yeah, her and Sam are getting close. Kill her. Why? For drama and story purposes. I know it makes for a more compelling story, but it sucks that it's just like when it's all said and done, the Winchesters can never win. And I guess that's kind of a point. It's very similar to Walking Dead, almost like it's almost that situation of like what's the point of fighting? Because everyone and everything you care about is going to die. I mean, the way Sam puts it's like at the very least, let's leave the world a little less crappy than the way we found it. Even if it's by a minute amount, even if people don't know what we've done for the world, even if the people we saved remember for a while, but it gets passed down, and eventually, their children or their children's children don't know about us. That's fine, as long as we made the world a little bit better. Then that's all the legacy we need. So I know, but it just bothers me that she died. It's like, dude, this is like what her third appearance in the entire. She had because there was the whole situation that I will refer to it as an old folks' home. Obviously, when she popped up, when she accidentally killed that Was that this season or was that last season that she popped up? That was last season, wasn't it? When she first popped up. I could be remembering that wrong. I mean, they also have like Claire on that list. They have Garth, which let's not forget Garth's a werewolf. Which we haven't seen Garth for a long time. Once again, that might, outside the show, that might just be a DJ Qualls thing. Maybe he's just kind of busy at the time and just hasn't really had a chance to really, come back. Or maybe they just haven't decided like, oh yeah, we're going to actively do something with this character. Because that was like a good many seasons ago when we found out him being a werewolf and everything, and he's just kind of being content with it and everything. But nevertheless, the Sam and Dean end up finding out about, and obviously they set a trap. Well, all the while you have like Lady Bevel. It's not even we don't really know whether she really got any information out of Mary last episode. Side note, the actress's name, I caught the name and it seemed vaguely familiar, and I think that's her name. It's Elizabeth Blackmore, the actress who plays Lady Bevel. I made sure to catch her name this episode too, so hopefully I won't be forgetting that, but most likely I will because my memory is terrible. But essentially she's brainwashed Mary, because there was a point where Mary ends up attacking a fellow hunter. I was like, okay, no, what it is, it's a shifter, and she's going to cause problem, making people think it's Mary, but obviously it's a shifter. But then she wakes up, like, nope, she's being mind controlled by them. Basically, they're trying to do what they're doing. What Ketch is kind of like the quote unquote perfect killing machine, and it's basically they want to do the same thing to Mary. They want to kind of get rid of that humanity aspect because it's like, oh, who needs all that humanity? Which in the long run, it's like I'll kind of reiterate. Like I kind of brought it up before. It's like they claim to be killing monsters and everything. It's like you're literally monsters yourself. Like what makes you different than any other monster? Then that hurts and kills people. It's like just because you don't side with them, you're going to kill them. That doesn't make you any different from anyone, like any other monsters you hunt and try to wipe out. It's like, how can you justify? I mean, granted, like their laws and their code has been so long and it's so ingrained in them that they can't see outside of that. And it's such a shame because it's like, then what's the point if you're just going to be willing to just kill people who don't follow your rules and everything like that? I mean, it's like, are the hunters here not doing what they're supposed to do? Wiping out monsters and stuff, the stuff that they were born into, like Sam and Dean, they've lived their entire life with this. And it's like, you acting like they're not, like they're actively killing your own people, when the fact of the matter is we can see you do a pretty good enough job with that. Let's not forget what Ketch did to Mick. So it's not like, I mean, hell, even before that, like at school you have to, like, to show that you can follow orders, you have to kill people. Like, in Mick's case, he had to kill his friend. It's just like, I don't understand their ways. And it's like, because there have been monsters that we've seen in the show who have shown more humanity than them. Crowley being the big piece of crap he's been across this series, I'd still choose him over any of the men of letters, because they're all pieces of crap, dude. They're that big as that. They're that massive of douchebags that you're just like, I would pick Crowley. And Crowley has done plenty of messed up things throughout the show but Crowley's kind of, I mean, it's hard to really go with Crowley because Crowley's like an exception, because it's like he's so charming and lovable. I love Mark Sheppard, the actor who plays him. It's just every time I see him pop up in anything, I'm just Mark Sheppard. But I've seen him pop up in some things from time to time. Like, I think I'm not going into it. Obviously, he's got his own history of stuff he's been in. I mean it fits along because I cover it for Super-Fanta-Fi. But he was in an episode of Doctor Who back in the day. It was like the first episode of season 6. He was in the first episode of season 6, but nevertheless, that's really beside the point. But Lady Bevel is messing with Mary's head and trying to turn her into the perfect killing machine. Even bringing up the whole situation of like, oh yeah, you didn't really know about that whole aspect about like after you died, your sons actually kind of went through a lot of trouble with your husband John, because John kind of fell apart after you died, kind of being thrust into this whole supernatural world all at once and everything like that, and just living with your death, kind of almost to the extent of being abusive towards your children, kind of leaving them behind for weeks on end and stuff like that, just all out for the sake of revenge. And that's a part of the story Mary never heard from the kids, because obviously, it's like, hey, that was dad was just doing his best. That's how they look at it. Sam always had his problem with their dad, but eventually, like, even he would recognize that, yeah, dad was just trying to do his best. He was a single parent. We're mixed up in this world. He wanted to track down Azazel, which I was right before. That is his name. The original Yellow Eyes. But I'd completely forgotten about that storyline until Lady Bevel brought it up. The whole storyline of like the reason why Azazel's in their life in the first place is because John was hurt and Mary made a deal with him and to bring him back. I was like, I forgot that actually popped up within the confines of the series. I can't remember what the circumstances were. Basically, I think it was Dean went back in time. I can't remember if it was like around the time, because it was like, I feel like there was another time. The one that's in my head is like, he went back in time to stop Anna, the angel Anna, because basically it was back when the whole like prophecy of like, oh, Dean's supposed to be Michael's vessel and Sam's supposed to be Lucifer's vessel, and to kind of undo that, to kind of prevent like mass destruction from the two colliding, from Lucifer getting his vessel, Anna takes it upon herself to try and go back in time and make it so that Sam was never born, and kind of, and there was, I'm pretty sure, because if I remember correctly, there was a whole thing between her and Dean. I don't remember if it was that particular situation of time travel, or I feel like there was another situation too where that might have popped up, but I forgot that was a whole thing that Dean got to experience, and I was like, dude, I totally forgot that was even a storyline element until she brought that up. So it's kind of like, at the same time, it's like, she's basically trying to make Mary feel bad. It's like, basically everything that happened to your family, all the turmoil and problems it's caused, it's like, that's gotta be on you. It's your fault in the first place. Which Mary at one point even tries to kill herself because she'd rather die than be in this condition, be under someone else's control, because it's like there are only two things she has for herself. She has her boys and she has her free will. The fact of the matter is, if she doesn't have her free will, the fact of the matter is she's going to continue to hurting people that she knows, like she did at Hunter, might, end up hurting her two boys, and she doesn't want to do that. She would rather die. She's like, if you're not going to let me kill myself, then you have to do it, Ketch. Which Ketch is like, no, you'll get accustomed to this situation soon enough. So, which apparently Mary isn't the only one that Ketch slept with. Apparently the same thing happened between him and Bevel, Lady Bevel. There's always a bit of a competitive spirit between the two, and obviously to a certain extent she holds resentment against him for it. I mean, we really don't know the whole story, but still, she kind of treats him, she's like, oh, you're a psychopath and everything like that, which is like, you're no dandelion yourself. Like, don't pretend like you're better than him doing everything that you've done. But luckily, Sam and Dean were able to capture her because of the trap they set and everything. Ended up finding out about what the Men of Letters really planned to do. Even if she was up there running her mouth about the whole Ketch having sex with her mom. It's like, yeah, probably the best sex he ever had. Okay, fine, you got me. The best sex that he's ever had. And it's just like, running her mouth, just kind of being an outright asshole. Just because I guess in that circumstance, it's just kind of like, she just wanted to push their buttons and everything. Plus, they found out about Mick, too. And it's like, because it wasn't even just Eileen, because apparently they heard that there were like 7 other hunters that they heard who had gotten killed in the past 3 weeks. They're moving fast. Which, another side note thing, like, because we ended up going back to the fact is that he was able to control the Hellhound. It wasn't by luck. Crowley actually gave them one because him and Dr. Hess actually have an agreement, which kind of makes sense, I guess, him being European. I'm going to label him as that because I don't know if he's necessarily British. I don't want to assume. But, he had a deal with her. I don't know whether it's just her or the like head honchos that lead the Men of Letters, but nevertheless, it's a situation where it's like they had an agreement. Like he can make his deals and stuff like that, but he has to make it to a smaller extent. If people are stupid enough to make a deal, fine, they deserve to get their soul taken. But it's like she will leave him alone. And he'll leave a lot of people alone, kind of pull back his business. So it's like, oh, we'll kind of translate that deal over here. But, obviously Crowley's kind of like, she's kind of getting a little too big for her britches. So it's like, I'm going to have to keep an eye on her type of situation. So, but once again, it's like, you act like, and then it's like, the fact of the matter is, what was the point of, because Mick wanted to kind of take a different approach. It's like, the question is, do the higher-ups know that she made a deal with Crowley? Like, what's going to happen when people find out that you've done that? I mean, granted, most people are like, it's like, it's hypocritical because it's like you're trying to find a different way, yet you punish people for going a different way, having a different belief, but it's like, here you are making a deal with Crowley and everything. It's like you act like the hunters are scum of the earth or whatever. It's like, you're literally the same as them. Don't act like you're better. It's like, it's such a messed up mentality that I just can't understand. It baffles me. And since I am talking about Crowley, Crowley's got to deal with the whole situation of Lucifer. He's bringing up the whole Dagon situation, which I was like, does Lucifer not know that Dagon's dead? It's like, no, like, she's a prince of hell. He has to have felt something when he wasn't able to get in contact with her. Then found out, I was like, oh yeah, Crowley's pointing out, oh yeah, Cassiel is with her too. Like, oh, obviously it's only going to be a matter of time until he kills your baby, which Lucifer didn't seem that worried. I mean, he obviously, like, when he didn't want to show weakness in front of Crowley, but he's like, the fact it didn't matter is like, I need to get out of here now. He's talking to that demon who's trying to help him escape. Now, the thing I'm wondering is, does he know about the whole Cassiel situation, that Cass is the one who actually killed Dagon? That never actually came up in conversation. But also, like, does he know that Cass is protecting the baby? Which we still don't know whether that's 100% a good thing or not. Obviously, Cassiel saw that future or whatever, so did Kelly. But at the same time, it's like, really, we don't know if that's just the baby mess with. I mean, obviously, the future that the baby showed Kelly came true, but nevertheless, it's like, we don't know what Cass saw and what, like, obviously, whatever it was enough for him to believe in this whole baby situation, but nevertheless, even that's kind of like, we don't know if the baby's just messing with him, and we don't know if Lucifer has some play in all of this where he's like, he knows exactly what's going on, that he just needed Cassiel to be around long enough to protect his baby, because it's like, obviously, Dagon failed, because if she was able to die so easily, then obviously she served her purposes. But things get complicated later on when it turns out that basically whatever it is that Crowley did to Lucifer is now having the reverse effect where Lucifer can actually control Crowley, even making him tap his chin, stick his tongue out, and hop on one leg and everything. And obviously at one point you have Crowley being like, oh yeah, so I hope you know, it's like, yeah, I'm willing to serve you again. It's like, really? After all the trash talking you've done for so long and now you're trying to act like beg for your life? It's like, you're such a weasel, Crowley, and that's why I love you so much. I love just that charming weaselness that is you. Has been you and always will be you, I guess. But, Lucifer set free, spread his wings a little bit, and is ready to kill Crowley. Obviously, Crowley was able to switch to a rat before. He's very good at that. Because to me, I was like, oh, don't tell me like this. Like, for it to happen now of all time, I was like, oh, obviously Crowley's got this all planned out. Oh, he does it? This is all... Didn't know this would be a side effect. It's like, oh, well, that sucks. But the question is, because it did flip, that does mean that there might be a chance that it could flip back for all we know. I mean, once again, though, kind of going back to it, just maybe that was Crowley playing along, because we saw how he went last time the whole situation went haywire. Maybe the whole point of this is like, well, why try looking for Kelly myself when in fact I can just have Lucifer look for her for me and make it a lot easier. Maybe that was the plan from the beginning. Maybe I'm just giving Crowley too much credit, but Crowley has proven time and time again, especially let's not forget when he showed Lucifer, it's like, you think I'm 10 steps ahead of you. He's already shown that, so it's like, who's to say he hasn't been 10 steps ahead of Lucifer even this far? Because it's like, I can't find Kelly on my own, because he's talking about taking the baby in as his own and raising it. It's like, oh, that baby's power will be mine, the power to shake all existence. So I mean, which is interesting, because he's like, oh yeah, because obviously the British men of letters wants the baby because the baby can basically wipe out all existence, demons and humans alike, doesn't matter, because obviously even Dagon herself said that, like, wiping out everything and everybody. So I guess, when you actually break it down and everything, it makes you think maybe Lucifer thinks he can be a better father than God was. Because it's like, maybe that's why he's so adamant about being a father. Not just because for the thrill of like, oh, I'm a father. It's like, oh, I'm a father, and now I can show the world, show Dad, that I'm a better dad than he ever was and will ever be. I feel, obviously because, Lucifer has major daddy issues, which, I mean, with his complicated situation, it's like, I can't really blame him for having the problems that he has when it comes to his dad. And then finally, the other ending part of the episode we see is that obviously Mary is completely under control. She's completely catches to control, where it's like he's asking her, it's like, oh, does she feel anything? She's like, no, I don't. He's like, yeah, the fact of the matter is, feels like what it's like to turn against people that you once loved but you don't remember loving. It's like it's gotten to that point, like her brain has been so heavily messed with. So to the point that basically Sam and Dean, as long with Lady Bevel as well, because for Ketch, this is an opportunity to get rid of the competition, because what it comes down to is him and her are the ones that are there to possibly take over Mick's position of kind of running things here in this, the U.S. So, but obviously she's left down there to die with Sam and Dean, and Mary at this point in time doesn't care because of the respective situation. So, how will they get out of this? I don't know. Next week is the season finale, but they did have the whole oh, it's going to be a full night event, which kind of makes me go wait, what's that about? Is this a 2-hour final episode? Because before the episode aired, everything I kept seeing saying oh, 2 episodes left of Supernatural, so obviously the next episode is 1 episode, so it's not like they're doubling up on episodes. The next episode will be 2 hours long, which at first I was like, oh, well, they've kind of done that before, and I was like, no, they didn't, because the only other time that's popped up, to my recollection, I could be remembering wrong, was season 2's finale. It was 2 parts, but it was a week-to-week 2-part, not back-to-back 2-part, at least not to my knowledge it was. I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure that was a week-to-week, wasn't it? That was literally 2006, 2007 when that was around. Definitely 2007 around then. So it's of course my memory would be it just puts in perspective, because I do forget, just it blows my mind, this show is as old as it is. This show is 12 years old. Either way, I'm very curious to see what goes down. Especially because all storylines are converging. Crowley and Lucifer, the baby, the British men of letters, Sam, Dean, even Lady Bevel. I'm very interested to see where her story goes. Whether they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna outright kill her. They probably want to after everything that's going on. Especially let's not forget her torturing Sam and everything. But I don't know, I doubt this whole men of letters situation is going to be dealt with. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a situation where it's obviously Dr. Hess might be she might be removed from the equation, but there's still the elders and the original branch of the British men of letters that's still out there, obviously back home. So I don't know. I also brought it up, was it last episode? I had the inkling feeling basically this season's going to end with Mary dying again, mainly because Mary doesn't belong in this world per se. So I think the whole point is I think the point of this season seems like it might be the case of just giving them closure. It's they never got to know their mom, they never got to spend time with her, which even amongst this case, they never actually got to spend a lot of time with Mary. They never really got to know their mom because she's kept her distance from them, but now that she wants to kind of get close to them, life has kind of gotten in the way. The hunter life, everything associated with has kind of gotten away, making it so it's oh yeah, with this life you can't have that happy life, you can't have that happy family that you kind of dream of. That's a farce, that's a fantasy, and that's all it ever will be. And so I feel everything's setting up so that she goes back to dying again, whether that's the case to be or not. I hope it's not, but to me I get the feeling that's going to be the case. Go on the Castiel situation with the whole Nephilim baby situation. Have no idea what that's going to end up. I don't know if I brought this up last episode, but it was a thought that was in my mind because obviously we still have the whole Billy situation of like, oh yeah, that basically there will be catastrophic ramifications for breaking a deal the way Castiel did by killing her. So baby situation, maybe like the baby being born, like obviously that whole situation with Billy happened after the baby was conceived. But what if after the baby is born, those catastrophic events take place? I mean, we still don't know. Like I said, I don't know. We would just have to really wait till the next episode to see what goes down to really even begin really speculating what, I'm kind of throwing my thoughts out there and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.